What inspires you? What sparks that image in your head? How do you get your inspiration? And what happens when you're a little stuck? What can you do to push yourself, to find something else, to look at something a little differently? What can you draw from to take that next step? We're going to explore that. Hi, it's Gretchen again. I am back with something else today. Not so much about photography. I'm going to talk about what inspires me and what I think you could use for yourself. What I think is a great tip for improving your photography or for giving yourself that push forward. And my title here is Art Inspires Better Photos. What do I mean by that? If we are just looking at other photographers' work or famous photographers throughout time to learn something, to see what they've done and whatnot, we're missing a vast knowledge, a vast resource of amazing artwork out there that can be an inspiration that we can learn from. I'm talking about what you find in museums, in galleries, in libraries, in classes, in lectures, I don't know, in other industries, in a building reclamation store, in walking down the street and looking at the architecture, in books, and all kinds of things. Taking yourself out to another kind of artistic element with the purpose of learning about where does the elements in this artwork cross over to my work? How can I use the elements in painting? How can I use the elements in drawing, in architecture, in writing? How can I do that? In organizing displays in a store, how can I use that to improve my own photography? It is amazing what is out there. One of my biggest sources of inspiration always is kind of a second passion I have, and that is a passion that I have for children's literature. I'm a retired elementary school teacher, and part of my career was as an elementary librarian. I have always collected children's literature. I've collected children's picture books throughout the years. And people often think, well, like, picture books, not much. One of the hardest forms of literature to write. A form of literature that has to have a story that has a strong beginning, a great climactic middle, and an awesome end. And it has to be done with pictures that tell the story, and not too many words that lose the 5-year-olds that listening to them, but still keep the attention of the adult who has to read it every night. And it has to be done in 32 pages only for a true picture book. There's some of the most amazing things out there. And if you write one, you don't necessarily get to choose your illustrator. The illustrators, the people that do the artwork for children's picture books, are phenomenal. And they're one of my biggest sources of inspiration and to see and ideas and everything. I just wanted to show you a couple that like this book right here, The Catalog by Jasper Tompkins. So this is one of my very first books I collected way back in 1982. Yes. And what I loved about this, you can kind of see there, I'll get it better, is the simplicity of this. But again, he's got the eyes right there across the central kind of, he's using threes. It's got some balance, but it's that simplicity in his artwork that he used for this that I sometimes look at that line and form and say, oh, wonder how that would fit with a photograph. So he was one of the early ones. This is Nina Layden, who did When Picasso Met Matisse. Yes. Again, the form of it, the colors, the way they went together, the different kind of practice, a drawing that I did based on this. I did an art project. So that I could push myself, so that I could try to give myself another outlet to look at, to see how these went together, how the foreground, the natural, the shadows, what's going on in all this, how the artwork went together, what kind of, the color in this, just I love, what it inspires for me. And then there's the stories about true artists that are true. This is a story about Alexander Calder. And his artwork and what he did and how he sketched and what he put together from real life, but also the artwork by Boris Kulikov, who did the book about Van Gogh, illustrated by Mary Grandpré. She used the inspiration of Van Gogh because she was illustrating his work. She didn't make it exactly like his, but still it was that nod toward it and to learn and whatnot. What you can do by looking at some of these, this is just one form, bottle tops, El Anatsui. This guy built things with bottle tops. Amazing mosaics that he built. Gigantic. Things that I didn't even know about. But what his work did for me was that idea of texture and the close-up and the texture and how things go together. All of these kind of things are things that I look at and I can use as inspiration for the type of photographs I want to create. When I am stuck and not sure how a photo is going to go or what I want to do, I can go back to these and think, okay, this is what it was like for these people too, to try. They didn't start out as famous or well-known, but they worked through things and had different things to do. The artists who do the books and represent other people, there's something that inspire me. So you might find something for yourself that you inspire. You might not be inspired by picture books or the paintings, and you might be inspired by writing or poetry and what kind of image it creates in your head if you read particular poetry. This book, Elements of Style, has been around forever as a writing instruction book, but also the illustrations in it are something that I find really interesting to go through and look at these type of things and to look at ideas that are suggested and incorporated into writing as an art form and how important it is to build that story. I can then use that in my photographs. When I go to a museum and I study different art pieces, different people's artwork, I look at how they use the light, how they represented it, how they set the composition of their characters or of their subject, the interplay of color, how much color did they have, the saturation, all of those type of things are things that when I go to these things and when I absorb them, when I go to a lecture about who knows what, or when I go experience some kind of art form, or when I go to take a class on watercolor or anything, I may not plan on having any other purpose of taking that class other than to get the experience and to see how it inspires me. Yeah, I love to watercolor. I'm not great, but it still is something that inspires me. And if I can use that and look at it and pull it into my artwork, into my photography, I know that when I go out to take a photograph, to create a story, to make my image, I'm going to have a much broader arsenal of knowledge to draw from. And that is amazing to know that those little things might pop up in my head and I might remember how the light was used here in this picture, or a phrase that somebody said that reminds me of something. It's just the best. So do not limit yourself to just photography books. Don't exclude them. Definitely use them. Definitely look at them. But experience other forms of art. Don't just watch videos about other art pieces or art styles. Go out and take a class. Pick up a paintbrush. Go to a clay class. Do one of those fun sip and paint things, whatever. Find something. Get a bunch of people together and try something different. Or if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, go on some of the classes that are on the tutorials that people have on YouTube and follow along. Experience it. You will be surprised at how one little thing might just pop in at an unexpected time and make all the difference in an image that you're trying to create. I hope so. So until next time, everybody, keep looking up and down and all around, because the beauty is hidden in plain sight, but it's all around you. And I'll see you next time.